What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Chris Pennell here. We are talking sleepers for the 2025 fantasy football season. It's very easy to say draft Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, but who are the other guys we're going to take to help us round out the rest of our lineup and help us later on in the season? And let's waste no time. Let's get into it. The first one we're going to talk about, Jordan Mason of the Minnesota Vikings, going in the 10th round currently in PPR drafts. But I love the upside here. Even though he's not a prolific pass catcher by any means, he was highly efficient last season with the San Francisco 49ers, and I think we're kind of coming into a similar situation over in Minnesota. They gave him a 2-year, $12 million fully guaranteed deal, meaning they're going to want to use him. They're not just going to have him sit and collect dust on the bench. Plus, we know Aaron Jones getting up there in age. He is now currently 30 years old, and as we all know, 30-year-old running backs, that's when we really start to break down and show some signs of wear, which we have seen from Aaron Jones in the past. Let's take a bit of a deeper look into Jordan Mason's season last year. And it's not like we have a large sample size. He did only start a handful of games, but in those games, he was highly efficient. We're talking nearly 5 yards per carry last season, 206 rushing yards over expected, which is one of the league's best. Averaged nearly 1.4 rushing yards over expected, which is well above league average for NFL running backs last season. And he faced 8+ defenders in the box on around 33% of his attempts last season. Also, looking at this chart here, like I can say things, but once you actually visualize it, it kind of gives you a better grasp of how good someone actually was in a certain category. And as you can see, Derrick Henry is a pretty good benchmark of efficiency and production. He's in the top right here, and that's where you typically want to be. You don't want to be in the bottom left. Guys like Braylon Allen, Kareem Hunt, Alexander Madison, yeah, I think that kind of paints the story here. Of course, Saquon Barkley not quite in the upper right. Still fantastic last season. If you were anywhere in this upper right quadrant, you were doing things right last year. So Derrick Henry, that was kind of the benchmark. Jordan Mason, not too far behind. He was also 7th in true yards per carry last season, 9th in yards per touch, 11th in juke rate, showing some elusiveness, which we do like. I mean, it's volume, of course, is the most important thing, but at least have some talent to you. 4th in explosive run rating, 9th in breakaway runs. And we have to remember this was in San Francisco, but I think this is a bit of a lateral move to Minnesota. They also run a zone run blocking scheme similar to San Francisco. They revamp their offensive line this year with Ryan Kelly, Will Freese, and Donovan Jackson. And I do think he will get first crack as far as short yardage situations are concerned and around the goal line, which is also going to produce more fantasy value. And if by any means, if Aaron Jones happens to go down, we're talking about a running back that could get 20+ opportunities per week in that scenario. Of course, he is still going to have to split with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is a better pass catching back. But I do love the upside here, especially how late he is going in the draft. And next for me is Tet McMillan of the Carolina Panthers, rookie wide receiver, drafted 8th overall. He's going to step in as the wide receiver 1 on this team, and I think he is that good to be worth more than where he's going right now. He's currently going in the 6th round. I like taking him earlier than that. I think Tet McMillan's in for an awesome season as a rookie. I know rookies can always be a bit of a question. That's why he's going a little bit lower. But I can almost guarantee he's going to go a lot earlier next season than where he is going right now. According to Player Profiler, his best comp currently is Drake London, and I think Drake London is going a lot higher in drafts, and I feel like this situation is not going to be too far off of what Drake London currently has. Now, I think maybe the concern to some people of McMillan is, of course, he is a rookie, so that always invites question marks, but the Carolina Panthers are a pretty shitty football team. So why do I want to get Carolina Panthers on my team? Well, I can tell you one thing, is that their defense was just so bad last season. I'll put this chart on the screen right now. In defensive EPA, they were the absolute worst. Being the top left is not good in this charting system. And I can't imagine it's going to get too much better this season. It's going to be hard to be as bad as they were last year. But even if they do improve, it's still not going to be good enough. They're in a bad division. They're going to play bad teams, which I think is great for fantasy purposes. If you're going to have a bad defense and trail in games and you can't just grind the clock out and establish the run, you want the passing game from that team. Now, while Bryce Young obviously still has also a lot of question marks, he really improved after his benching last season. And up until he got benched in week 8, he had one big-time throw per PFF, Sam Munson. Afterwards, 27. That's 26 after he came back, tied for 7th in the NFL. If he can continue improving, we saw some nice sparks from Bryce Young last year. Now that he has a legit wide receiver 1, there is no competition for him. Xavier Legette, he was unimpressive. Jalen Coker was undrafted, and Adam Thielen's about 40 years old at this point. So Tet is going to be in line for a monster season as far as just opportunity. And when you pair opportunity with immense talent and a good situation just for the passing game of Carolina, I mean, the sky's the limit for Tet. I mean, we're talking about a guy that had extremely explosive games in college. We're talking about a 10-catch, 304-yard game with 4 touchdowns in Arizona. Finished his career with 213 catches and 3,500 receiving yards, 26 total touchdowns. The red zone threat is certainly going to be there. And I'll tell you right now, looking ahead of week 1, the Carolina Panthers are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, last season's 2 worst defenses per EPA last season. So honestly, I would not be surprised at all if we have a nice breakout game. Next for me is a tight end. And while it's not a sexy pick by any means, I do think Tucker Kraft's going a bit late. You can get him in the 10th round, similar to Jordan Mason. And this is simply if you go with the draft strategy of stockpiling running backs and wide receivers, which is something I typically do. And when you do that, of course, you have great depth, which is always important in fantasy because of how easily, let's say, the running back position wears thin over the course of the season just due to injuries. At that point, you're really kind of missing out on the Brock Bowers, Trey McBrides, George Kittles of the world. But when you're in this range, I like to try to take a guy that has top 5 upside on a weekly basis at the tight end position. And for me, that is Tucker Kraft. He was actually highly efficient last year. And while there is many mouths to feed in this offense, he's going to be a consistent piece at the tight end position for Jordan Love. Going to consistent target with upside on a weekly basis. The wide receiver right now is banged up, and there's lots of mouths to feed. We also have a rookie in there. But Jayden Reed's in a walking boot. Christian Watson's most likely going to start the season on the pup. Dontavian Wicks is banged up, and he's also not very good at football. Mecole Hardman's there now. And Matthew Golden, the first-round pick, I think there's a lot of upside out of him. And while he wasn't hyper-targeted last season, he made that up with efficiency last year. And he was incredible after the catch. He actually led all tight ends in that metric, even over George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, elite-level tight ends. He was first in that metric, a demon after the catch, which is what we like to see at tight ends. I don't want some unathletic tight end who's going to catch the ball and fall over. I'm looking at you, Zach Ertz. That is exactly what you do. That is not Tucker Kraft. He was also the tight end 2 in yards per out ran last year at 2.64, the tight end 2 in yards per target, tight end 2 in yards per reception at 14.1. Basically top 5 across the board in every single efficiency metric. 131 quarterback rating when targeted, which was tight end 5, tight end 3 in fantasy points per out ran last season, tight end 4 in fantasy points per target. But we're getting this guy in the 10th round, and there's a lot of upside here. And the coaching staff has indicated that they want to feature the tight end position more in this offense. And with a potential uptick in targets this year, we could dance with the possibility of getting double-digit touchdowns this season out of Tucker Kraft. Now, of course, that's more of a ceiling projection. I would not expect that to happen, but it is in the cards for him. Next up is going to be Jayden Higgins, rookie wide receiver of the Houston Texans. Our second rookie we are talking about. Not the bona fide one on his team like Tet McMillan. That's why he's going lower in drafts, but we had a departure of Stephon Diggs this season. He had a 23.9% target share last year. And Tank Dell, no timetable when he's coming back. He had an 18% target share last year. That means 42% of the targets from C.J. Stroud last season have completely vacated. Now, they did bring in Christian Kirk. I'm not 100% sold on him. He's been more of a slot talent anyway. And he's had a bit of an injury history as well. But Jayden Higgins, for me, is going to be the 2 on this team, and I'm absolutely in love with how he profiles. He's a big body, but he's also very quick as well. 94th percentile in speed score, 87th percentile in burst score, 94th percentile in catch radius, also 74th percentile in 40-yard dash. And when you're 6'4", 215, I like that. That really profiles quite nicely opposite of Nico Collins, who's going to take the majority of attention from opposing defenses. And like I said, that 42% target share has to go somewhere. Of course, it's not all going to Higgins. Christian Kirk is going to get his fair share, but Higgins is a great talent. They drafted him in the 2nd round out of Iowa State, and he was quite productive in the previous season in college. 87 receptions, nearly 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And also, we saw 2.63 yards per route run last season, and with a 12.1 ADOT. So I really do like the situation for Higgins. CJ Stroud has shown that he can support multiple wide receivers, and plus, he gets to learn from Nico Collins. We know Nico Collins is an absolute stud, so it could potentially be a slower start getting acclimated to the system as the year starts. I think as we progress throughout the season, he's only going to get better. And last but not least, we have Ricky Pearsall of the San Francisco 49ers. We can currently get him in round 9, which feels like a steal to me because of the potential opportunity that we have in this system. Former first-round pick just as early as last year. We're not talking about a grizzled veteran that we're hoping can find new life again. 2nd season in Kyle Shanahan's system, which is quite complex. Another year of training camp and just getting acclimated to this playbook and getting used to Brock Purdy can do someone wonders, especially when we had 2 guys departure this offense. Deebo Samuel on his way to Washington. Brandon Ayuk coming off the ACL there. He's not going to be ready to go early on. We're talking about guys that pretty much accounted for about a quarter of the targets from Brock Purdy last season. George Kittle had a career high in targets since 2019 last season as well. He's someone that has struggled with injuries and missing some time in the past, so we'll have to assume that probably doesn't happen again. So the potential is there. And really his only competition currently at the wide receiver position is Jawan Jennings, who definitely did flash last year, but they're still not even close to being in agreement with their contract talks. And he's also nursing a bit of an injury right now currently. So we saw what Ricky Pearsall could do at the end of last season when he was the guy. Week 17, week 18, we're talking nearly 50 fantasy points. Had that monster game in primetime versus the Detroit Lions, where he had 8 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown, which is the most yards by a 49ers rookie wide receiver since Jerry freaking Rice. So while it's not a surefire thing he does break out this year, the formula is there for it, and it's not really costing you too much. We're talking about a 9th round pick with potential wide receiver 2 upside by the end of the season. With that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. So if you enjoyed, or even if you didn't, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for brand new. If any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. I'm more than happy to answer them. We wish you all the best, and I'll see y'all next time.